given a chance to go back in the past, what are those three things that you would want to change? Three mistakes that you would recommend budding writers to never make?
Wow, that's a really, really good question. Really good. There's definitely a few things that I would have changed. I've been really, really lucky in my career, so they're not, major, I don't think, for a lot of people, but for me, I would definitely change them. Number one is I would have taken screenshots of my earlier web writing works, because I think that we believe that that stuff's going to be out there forever, and a lot of it is. I mean, if you're writing for the web,
I mean,
that's
I would
gonna
believe the same.
yeah, you expect it to kind of live forever on the web, and most of the time it does, but sometimes it doesn't. And there's a few pieces of my writing that I don't have clips of because I didn't take a screenshot when it was live, and the catalog changed or the site is no longer in existence, and yeah, I have no access to those clips anymore. So I definitely would have taken more screenshots. So yeah, that's my number one. Number two, and I'm getting better about this one. Actually, I'm getting a lot better about this one, but I wouldn't have isolated myself so much. Yeah, a lot of writers, and I'm sure you fall into this too, we tend to kind of silo ourselves. We isolate ourselves. And it helps us focus. It's a good thing. If you can, be by yourself as a writer, it's a good thing. But in terms of getting more business and, selling my skills, and meeting other writers and meeting people I can partner with. I spent a couple of years just too much by myself, and now I'm getting out there more. I'm networking more face to face, and it really helps. I think it helps my sanity too, to actually interact with other human beings.
Right. As one of my friends likes to say, that it's not the computer, it's not the machine that's gonna get you work. Hey, it's people. Just go out there and meet them. Even if it's for socializing or to get more business or just to spread the word about your work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing beats face-to-face interaction. Yeah, that's my number two, kind of thing that I would have changed. So I wouldn't have spent quite as much time by myself. And number three, and this kind of goes back to selling yourself as a writer, but I would have learned more about sales and public speaking early on. A lot of people get into writing because it is kind of a solitary job, and I, for one, love that aspect of it. I love just working independently, but when you are doing this professionally, you have to learn how to talk to people. And I've found that I've taken public speaking classes, and I've read books on how to lead seminars and workshops, and I'm never going to be a public speaker, and I don't know if I'm ever going to lead.
I want to know more about that aspect too. When did you get started with the public speaking classes, and how did you go about that?
Yeah, it's just in the last couple of years that I really started learning about this stuff, because I found that I got so nervous when I was talking to people, and I just thought, this is so silly, because I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. I need to sell my skills, and in order to sell my skills, I have to talk to people. So how can I get over this? And I thought, maybe just exposing myself to it more, and putting myself in those situations where I have to talk to people would help me get over my fears. And it did a little bit, but I found that it was still so scary that I realized maybe if I just learn more about it. And there's really an art to public speaking, and there's an art to sales conversations. I never realized that. Once I started learning about it and learning how to structure a speech, and how to structure a workshop, and how to have sales conversations without being that icky salesperson, I found that it made me so much more comfortable speaking to people, because I felt like, okay, I get this. There's a structure to it. Like there's a structure to a good piece of writing. There's a good structure to, speaking to somebody about, your skills, trying to sell them your skills. So yeah, that's something I think I would have benefited from much earlier in my career. I wish I had learned this stuff much earlier on. I think it would have been much less scary to have those sales conversations if I learned this stuff earlier.
How important is it for writers to find their own voice? And during our chat a little bit earlier, you were mentioning two crucial pointers that the writers should not ignore. So let's spill the beans.
Okay, yeah, so starting with voice, I think this is something that people worry way too much about. You search for how to find your voice on Google and a million articles pop up. It's amazing. And finding your own voice, is important as a writer, but it emerges naturally. Just write. And your voice is going to emerge. Don't worry so much about it. You'll find your voice. It's a natural process. As a copywriter, I write in other people's voices most of the time. I help other businesses to spread their message. I write to influence and persuade on other people's behalf. So myself, I'm always refinding my voice because I'm writing as other people. Yeah, especially as a ghostwriter. Most of what I do is ghostwriting. So most of the time, somebody else is putting their name on my work. And so when it comes time to writing my own stuff, whether it's for fun or for my blog, rediscovering my voice is kind of an ongoing process for me. I kind of have to shift out of the voice of my client and into my own voice over and over.
I can so very relate to that.
Yeah, and to your point about the two things that new writers should not ignore, I've got two good pointers there. So the first thing that new writers should not ignore is their gut. If a project or a client doesn't feel right, if there's just something wrong and you can't put your finger on it, pay attention to that, because not every client is for you, and you're not for every client. There's going to be some mismatches. It's going to happen. And learn to listen to your gut, because it's going to save you a lot of frustration and, a lot of wasted time. It's okay to tell a client, I just don't think this project is for me. It's as simple as that. It's okay to say no. And I know when you're a new writer, you want to just take every job that comes your way. I totally get that. I've been there. But just be careful. Listen to your gut. It's okay to tell clients no. Even if you're missing out on a paying job, you might be saving yourself a lot of pain and frustration. So that's my first point. And then my second piece of advice for what not to ignore is don't ignore your education. As writers, 50% of our job is research. No matter what genre you're writing in, no matter if you're a copywriter like me, or you're writing a fiction novel, 50% of what you do is writing and 50% of what you do is research. So just constantly be learning. It's going to keep you in the groove, number one. And number two, the more we educate ourselves, the better we can write. I mean, shoot, I educated myself on public speaking. What I was just talking about. I'm never going to be a public speaker, but just adding that little bit of education to my repertoire has helped me immensely in my business. You never know what's going to help you. So if you're interested in a subject, educate yourself about it. Take classes, read books.
So thanks for those two pointers. So ladies, listen to your gut and keep learning. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you know what, if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Twitter. My handle is Horizon Peak. That's HORIZONPEAK.
Thanks.